5 o'clock and we are live.
All right, we are in, I don't even know what the word is right now. The meeting is called to order. It's December 1st, 2021. On the agenda today is redistricting, and I'm sorry if you can't hear me very well. I have allergies and just allergies. So we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. They will stand. If you choose not to, that's fine, of course. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you can be seated. If I feel like I'm going to start sneezing, and I'll put my mask back on. I know I could talk kind of quiet, and I apologize. So, first item is the minutes for the November 16th and November 19th meeting. Is there any changes that need to be made? Or do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Both sets of meeting minutes?
Yep.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The meeting minutes are approved. All right, and thank y'all for handling the 19th meeting so I could drive. Appreciate that. All right, the second item is review the public comments. I'm assuming we don't have the zones for Little Rock School District to approve?
No, and Little Rock School District's election is in November.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in touch with them though, and they are working on getting them done right away as soon as, there's, I think a lot of the boards, I've talked to a couple different school districts, and I don't know if it's the association, the Arkansas School Board Association is recommending that they have elections, like re-elect a whole new board. And I know last time in redistricting, they didn't do that. And so there's a little, some of that going on. And I know Little Rock's been checking into different things. Their deadline is July 11th, which is a bad deadline. We need it way before then. May 12th is the deadline for the redistrict. That's one that I gave them, but I let them know that we want it as early as we can get it. And so what I did is I gave you guys a schedule. I updated the redistricting schedule, and it has their date for the ones that are in November. If their election's in November, it's due later.
Okay.
So the one that was due tonight, which I've been in touch with a few different times, and I actually talked to the attorney today, was Jacksonville, North Pulaski School District. And they are actually having a meeting Monday, and they have their zones, or if the board approves or wants to put forth that map, we can get them Wednesday on the agenda.
But it's due today.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how do we handle that?
It's really strange because in the law, and I've talked to several different people, but in the law it has 120 days for, you read it says 120 days, and then you read on down and it says 90 days, which is less. This is the 120 days. But it's saying they want the same thing after that. So really, when I talked to Scott Richardson, the attorney, I told him we really need the 120 days. I think the superintendent is who I've been talking to and checking in with and saying, hey, and he turned it over to the attorney who I talked to today. And so there's it's kind of strange this year because this is the first year the first redistricting where we've had 2 school elections. They've had different dates, which can be hard with these elections because the clerks have to get it in, but they have different deadlines and everything. So I was sticking with the 120-day deadline because the 90-day deadline, if you read on in the law, it says the board you guys have to approve at the 120, and then it goes on about the 90 days. It's really confusing. So I've just said 120 days. And in visiting with Washington County, because I'll tell you, I've like tried to dissect this, and I'm going, this doesn't go with this. That's when they told me, they said, we've been working with our schools, and we told them we have to do it the 120 days, not the 90 days, because they've got to circulate petitions. Filing starts 2/22, and they have the same filing period, and that's in your new schedules, and everything. So I don't know that there's anything that we do. I can check in with the State Board of Election Commission, or whoever would have us, and see what they say.
So let me ask just a very off-the-wall hypothetical question. What would happen if they gerrymandered their districts like crazy and we were like, I don't want to approve that?
See, I will tell you.
I know that's an insane question, but.
Well, and I will tell you on theirs, they have one minor change. They, because they're a new school board.
Right.
So they actually, if they adopt if the board's in favor of the one that they're looking at, Scott Richardson said that it moves one subdivision in another zone because of population. That's the minor change. They did the minimal that they had to meet the requirements.
I guess the reason I'm asking that question is because if they're waiting until after the deadline, and let's say that a school board came back on the ones that we have to approve, not review, but approve. What if they gave us something? Because if we're like rubber stamping something and they did something really bad, are we held is there any kind of liability if we approve one? I guess that's my question. I guess Adam's not here, but what happens?
And that's when I've checked with people, they always say, well, the board is like a rubber stamp. You're rubber stamping it to
just
approve.
a rubber stamp to approve it?
And the other thing is on the deadline, even after you approve, they still have to follow all of the, turning it into the clerk, and just like we do after we get all of our stuff. They have a process to follow that I've shared with them. I've sent out.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I have something to say about the rubber stamp part. I'd like for them to come and speak to us about their maps before we do anything about voting on it.
And the reason I'm asking that is from a legal standpoint, because if you approve, and if let's say they got sued, right? Would they sue us too because we approved their maps? That's just my curiosity.
Yeah,
is what happens there.
And I'd like to hear what
I've
Adam has to
always
say.
thought
Yeah,
it was
I'd be
strange.
curious.
For one, I will do some research and find that
That's
out.
the question.
Well, so
I haven't, yeah.
Go ahead.
The law says we approve
Right.
something that we didn't have any part of
Right, exactly.
designing or ordering or looking at or anything.
That's what's so strange.
Which is a sort of an odd thing, which says they want us just a rubber stamp. It's formality. It's what it sounds like.
But they should just make it review.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I
I think the law needs to be cleaned up.
I
And
think
they
the law
do,
needs to be cleaned
I
up.
would have them, of course, provide the populations and the same
And I'm not saying they're going to do
information that we have
anything
with
like this. I'm just
Right, right.
hypothetical.
This is
But,
Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
hypothetical. If somebody did something crazy, it's just weird that it's an approval, not a review.
in 10
Did you have
years
something?
ago,
Well, I think that if we're charged with approving it, then we certainly have the power to review it. And I think we ask whatever questions we want to ask, and we ask them to show up and show us whatever it is we want to see.
Just
But we don't have any power to change anything.
Well, we have the power not to approve it though, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's kind of strange. 10 years ago, Little Rock City was the only city, because it had city manager, form of government, that you had to approve, that the board used to have to approve. So of course, when I came back, I pulled those codes, because I'm like, it was so confusing, because that was thrown on us at the last minute.
Yeah.
So I pulled them, I looked, and they changed it in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense, because it's I mean, I'm not sure why those go before you, the other cities don't, but.
So are
it's
they
just-
gonna provide that by next week?
We'll know after their Monday meeting.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'll do some digging. I've been wanting to get into that because I've wondered, but I have been really swamped on this comment and dealing with attorneys and stuff for the school districts. They've been getting with me on all of their redistricting stuff, and I've been working with different ones, so.
Yeah, I just don't like how
But,
we're
yeah.
being held hostage to a date that we're not adhering to. Okay. Thank you, Melinda.
We do have a trail that we've been trying to get them.
Yes,
I haven't,
exactly.
Well, and let's be sure Adam is included in that conversation.
he is, he's on it, so.
All right, so next up, this meeting is simply to gather the comments, and we had extended those a few days because, sorry, we extended those a few days because, you know, and I reached out to Melinda and said, hey, I would like to extend these few days, reach out to the other commissioners and make sure that's fine, but, you know, I heard that they were possibly changing some of the state and house lines, and I just thought that would be appropriate to extend the comment period a few days, so we extend that to noon today. So just in case you weren't aware of that, we did extend that till noon today. So and everybody was on board with that. So these are all the comments that we've received up until noon today. Right? Okay. So, Melinda, do you just want to give us a synopsis?
Yeah, that's
of the
what
comments?
because I've been digging in.
That'd be
them.
great. I really don't want to
So
see
what
that.
I put together for you, for the board, is basically, here's all the emails we've received. And we did receive 2 public comments at the libraries. So,
Cool.
and they're noted on here. So I put that all together in this. I do have a spreadsheet that has addresses and even more information on each person, but I really didn't think we needed all that on there. I will let you know, if you look on here, there's a little dot, the asterisk. Those are the ones, I requested addresses from several people and did receive addresses, that they're Pulaski County addresses, but there was only a few that I have not received, and I wasn't sure how you wanted to handle that, so I just identified it. It's really not a big, one of them even, I think, is married to someone else who commented, but I just made sure I asked everybody.
Okay.
So I broke it down. I wanted to make it easy for y'all to look at, and I broke it down into categories. So like it shows like one person, you know, wanted alternative 1 and 2, or 1 or 2, I guess I should have. They were for either one. Alternative 1 and 3 was another one. Alternative 2, there was 2 people. Alternative 4, there was 18. And in a lot of those comments, when you look through them, they discussed not breaking up St. Charles and Wellington communities or whatever, that if they could get away from that divide. And then the miscellaneous on there's 7 of them. And those, the reason I just put miscellaneous, there is a category with them, but they're just specific input, you know, like revisions to maybe a couple JP districts, or, you know, just something like that. And then on NA, the reason I have 2 NA is one was discussing the Senate House districts, the state. It's not, but they're in here. And then another one just I think went on, and it went on about more like federal, state stuff. So, but it's in here, the part's in here, but I thought that might make it easier. There's a little ID number on the end because I numbered them in order, and if we want to actually look at the specific email, then they're right here.
I think seeing the comments about St. Charles and Wellington is interesting because that's a community of interest. I used to live in St. Charles.
It's that district.
Right.
I used to live in St. Charles.
As you used to live in St. Charles too?
They're pretty, I do too.
That's why I say you used to live in St. Charles.
Yeah. Oh, I thought Christy said I.
No, you used to live in St.
I was like,
Charles.
you did?
No, not me. My best friend used to live in Wellington Woods, so I used to go over there all the time. I finally figured out a way. Unfortunately, I did it so late, and I wish I would have done it earlier. But I figured a way to take the maps, download the maps, save them to my Google, then send them out as a view-only link that anybody could see without having to download the file. And then I actually tweeted that. I don't think anyone picked up on it, but that they could just go in and put their address in, which made it much easier. But I thought it was interesting. I think it was on 4. Yeah, it was on 4. And it's interesting because 4 moves me out of my current district. But, and I was really focusing on where I live and that one to see how it did. But I thought it was interesting because it's one of the things I keep bringing up. That's going to continue growing, that area. And where I am is growing. So I thought that was an interesting move to move it to 2. And 2 looks crazy, but I understand the why because I really know that area. So I thought that was interesting, but I am curious since you're here. Thank you so much for coming here. Mm-hmm. And I get the whole with the precincts and everything else. With the changes, and I don't know if you've had time to look at the changes that were made on Monday. Did any of the changes on Monday affect Pulaski County?
On the State House?
On the State House, yeah.
I glanced at that. When you overlay them, there's portions that fall at fine with the lines with the new boundaries, and it'll deviate. It just depends. There was nothing where it looked like it was creating a sliver, which we're really trying to stay away from. When you create an area that will have 1 or 2 voters in it, produces a privacy issue on the precinct splits.
Okay.
But I did not go into full depth on it. I just hadn't. It's kind of tough when you're dealing with 4 versions too. If you kind of narrow it down to a final one that you want to tweak, it's a little easier to go in there and look at the State House and Senate. And if there are any issues along those lines, we can adjust some things to make sure we don't have any very small areas that fall between the lines.
So, for example, on 4, there's a lot of comments regarding splitting St. Charles and Wellington, which would be a community of interest. And I think 4 also did 4 fix the Wrightsville problem too? Because Wrightsville was split. It's currently split, which to me is a huge problem.
I think it fixed it.
It fixed it in version 4.
It fixed it in version 4.
Mm-hmm.
I really have a problem with Wrightsville being split.
Yeah, it should not be split.
It should not be split. So, and I know everything's a domino effect. I get that. But I think was there any suggestions in here on how to remedy that issue?
There were.
Which one?
Yes,
The
there's
St.
one.
Charles?
The St.
Move the
Charles.
southern boundary north and the west boundary to the west.
Yeah.
Well, but then that might move me.
All right.
Well,
Back
so
over.
that JP district has always excluded the Wellington Hills and that other side of,
On 2,
on all of them currently, that they've never been, St. Charles has never been part of Wellington.
part of what it never has been.
But
part
it
of
should be.
But it should
I mean, I
be.
agree that it should be.
It absolutely should
So,
be. 'Cause they're a joint community.
Yeah, and it's just determining that lower boundary without, wrecking all of the numbers.
Right.
The problem is, and I glanced at this because she gave me heads up kind of on the majority of the comments, there's about 4,500 people or so that you'd have to move, and that's about 20% of a JP.
Mm-hmm.
So you move a chunk like that, you're gonna have to move another chunk somewhere else, which will probably split another, so
Uh-huh.
it gets a little how you wanna slice and dice it. So you can do that.
And now we hadn't got to this yet, but one of the comments that included an alternative map I was looking at, and that, in that particular map, I just looked at, I've been looking at comments and I looked at the map there, and in that map, 3 looks like is maneuvered a little bit to where it's north. I don't know, I'd like to see that map drawn up, the one that the person put in as a comment, was the comment that it would be creating another majority-minority district precinct.
Ms. Evelyn.
What would we need to get to you, Hans, to be able to,
I got some problems with that,
I
even
think
doing
she,
that.
it sounded like in her email she wanted to add a JP district. It's 25, oh, it's Evelyn, it she'll be in miscellaneous. So keep going. And in the category, that's it, that's Evelyn.
It's a self-drawn map. It's not anything that we ordered to be done through MetroPlan.
well, we could certainly have them draw it for us and see how it lays out.
I think we are past that point. I think we have our formats that we've chosen.
We hadn't chosen anything, this was what we set up to be for discussion.
So let me ask you a question. Does alternative 4, and I keep saying 4 because a lot of the comments were talking about 4. Does alternative 4 have a majority-minority district right now? Do we have those numbers?
9 would, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but looking at 10 will be 9, this is just off the top of my head. 10, 9.
5,
5, 6,
probably 8.
maybe 8, yes.
Can we get those numbers? Can you grab that information?
Yeah,
Will you grab that?
I was going to show Hans that map too.
Yeah, okay.
Excuse me, I would like to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did I hear you say that Wrightsville has been split?
Wrightsville was split this entire time.
Split where? Between who?
Well, here's the current map.
It's over here. It's, I forget the name of that. It's,
Oh, 8 and 9. Okay,
Yes,
so I was
between
like,
8
it's
and
closer to 9. I'm like, I know my district. It's not quite
The
right.
city limits are in 9,
mhm.
but the outer area.
Is
of
in
Wrightsville
8.
is in 8.
And so this,
So a lot of the people that are part of the community they're not in 9.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so that community of interest is left out,
Got it. Who sits in
and that's
JP?
problematic.
Okay, who's the JP for 8? I forgot.
Curtis Key.
Curtis, okay.
Teresa Coney is 5. Who's 7?
Am I the only JP that tends to, like, come to the meetings? I want to know. Be honest, I mean, am I the only one?
I think we've had some in the past.
Yeah, we've had
Yeah.
some. They're
I mean-
watching it. They can watch it.
Huh?
They can watch it.
I'm just curious. And the public comments, that's that public record,
Yes, ma'am.
so we can view them
Yes, ma'am. They should be posted after this meeting.
online.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
District 7 is Teresa
So,
7?
County. 7 is,
Who's 5?
5 is Lily.
Lily, okay. Okay.
And Mr. Scott, what was you proposing over there? I'm trying to make sure I understood you correctly.
I was speaking about a map that was sent in as a public comment, and it was a map that purportedly would create an additional minority or majority minority district.
So you mean like there'll be 16 justices, is what you're
We
saying?
can't do that. We're at the max.
No, it's not going to create another district,
I
but
think he's saying creating
it's going to make,
having one of the districts being a majority minority
Right.
district.
right.
Having one of the 15.
Well, we didn't review nor accept a map that came from the county, so I don't think we should review or accept that map as even for consideration.
No, I'm not looking at the map. I just asked the question about the majority minority district. I don't think that's a bad idea.
Don't we already have that?
Currently, I don't think we do.
Oh, we have two.
I think we do, and we have several.
That's
But
why I
we
asked her to
need
go get the
those numbers.
information to see what we have.
Because my district is a majority minority district.
What's your populations?
I don't know from the top of my head, but I think it's like, last I checked was maybe 20-something thousand, maybe 27, something like that.
That'd be the percentage populations.
I don't know the percentage, but
We had those listed somewhere.
Yeah, we have them. She's gonna go grab it.
Madam Chair, how
Yes.
many comments were received, if you know that, public, before the deadline?
Total,
Yeah. Just curious.
31.
31 total? Okay.
31. Now, I think one of the JPs commented on here about there's another neighborhood that's split. I guess it's always been split. I just saw it when I was reading on the same
Yeah, I
page.
saw it too.
Chimney Rock.
It's right between 12 and 15 years. The boundary, 12 did not change at all. Any of them that met the population threshold, so it wasn't modified. I mean, it can be, but since it was within the threshold, just kind of left it as is.
Is 12 a area that has, because it had no growth and no projected growth?
It's pretty big.
Alternative 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you.
Developed land, I think.
Okay.
That information was printed on the list.
So is the percentage requirement for majority minority district to be at least 16.5%? Is that correct? What's the rule? Jeff, for VRA?
Oh, I don't know that.
It's a percentage population based on the state? Or is
No,
it
it would
based
be
on the
within
total?
Pulaski. Well,
Or is it within Pulaski County?
for just the basic, it'd have to be over 50% for that district. to
For
say
over
we-
50%
yeah,
of that
say
district. Oh, okay.
That's a majority, or.
To make that a majority
district.
minority district? Okay, all right. Thank you. All right. I really tried to put on my glasses, but.
And a note on the census this time, there were a lot more 2 or more races responses than the previous census, so that creates more
Like a
minority
Latino,
population.
right.
Well, no, that's a different, Hispanic Latino is considered ethnicity,
Mhm.
and it's separate from race
race.
within the census confines. So what they'll do is take out white alone, black alone, Asian alone, Native American alone, Asian, Pacific Islander alone, and then they'll have 2 or more races alone that are not Hispanic. And Hispanic, if you group Hispanic with all the other alones other than white alone, that would produce your minority. How many people you would consider a minority in a district.
Okay.
looking at the things on alternative 4, JB districts 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are both minority over minority groups over the white. So it's minority to majority. Right. I'm trying to say that right. So we already have minority groups, safety districts, half of them. Half of them.
So did 4 create that, or was it already in place?
I think it's pretty much in place.
I can't remember when you did all the
What's
numbers.
the-
They all came together. Now,
what's the
if you look at
rule?
4 in the current one, 7, you're taking probably some, it's losing some of its population in 1, so that was.
I think there's 6, no matter which map, there's 5 or 6,
Okay, let me see.
depending on which map you're looking at here.
Yeah.
So I think what the map that's being sent in as a public comment is saying that there'd be another one that would be a minority majority. It drawn that way, the way that map is.
So I guess I'm kind of confused then.
Okay. The 6, and no matter which one you look
Pretty
at.
much.
Maybe I'm getting confused on VRA. So are they making that comment because Pulaski County, the racial makeup of Pulaski County is almost 50-50? And therefore the number is not great enough to reach that 50-50 threshold in our districts? Am I understanding that right or wrong?
I think we.
Is that
Well,
the issue?
They don't lay down what part of section 2 the VRA is speaking about.
So we have.
We'd have to look.
So, like-
I'd have to look at section 2.
What's the racial population makeup of Pulaski County for 2020? Do you know off the top of your head?
If you're looking, if there should be a total at the bottom there, it'll tell you the minority on any of the things, it should be total at the bottom of those spreadsheets.
The numbers are
The
the
bottom
same.
column, or bottom row, I'm sorry.
It's 205,132 minority opposed to 193,993 white.
So the
We have
minority
majority.
population is more than the white population? So I guess my question is it under the current map, all the maps have more white population districts than minority population districts?
I think that would be true, but I'm not sure
Even
that's
though the
what.
racial makeup is heavier on the other side? Is that the issue?
I'm not sure if that's where they're headed with it.
Wish his comments were a little bit more robust. Let's just look it up. It's too tiny. I wish we had an attorney here.
I've got a motion when you get time.
Okay.
We're looking.
I'm just trying to understand this comment.
I Are you reading? Is there a comment to read?
No, I'm reading the VR section too,
Uh-huh.
to see what how we're upside down.
It was a long
I'm trying to do my due diligence. Okay, section 2.
because normally it comes up with school districts. That gives me
So with this is under SCOTUS blog. It says, in the Thornburg case, the Supreme Court reviewed these factors and clarifying the test for vote dilution. The court held that a successful claim requires 3 things. The affected minority group is sufficiently large to elect a representative of its choice. The minority group is politically cohesive, and white majority voters vote sufficiently as a bloc to usually defeat the minority group's preferred candidates. So I guess I'm curious if,
Now,
go ahead.
when we did these, we were sure to take races off. So if we, I
Right.
think if you get into, we were sure we didn't want them on the maps because initially they had the keys on there. I think if that was our main concern or what you guys are going for, I think it's going to take a lot more research, and you're going to have to grab the areas from different places than where we started off with these maps.
Well, there's 2 things. We said we can't use race as a
That's right.
factor, but we can't discriminate
That's right.
at the same time.
Which you, right, and you haven't taken any of that into,
Consideration.
Because if you have an area that has a certain race that's huge, I mean, you're gonna have to go and grab over to the, I think we would start with a different plan than what we
Yeah, you
initially
would-
started these with.
You would dilute.
I've never done redistricting where it was.
If I can speak on that, even though the population is more than half in the county, it's not dispersed even across the county to
Right.
produce the districts in a fashion. You have areas that are concentrated with the racial, and to produce a map like that would be, you would have all sorts of tentacles going here, there, to pick up populations over there, and it would look very, very distorted and very, it would not have contiguous, or not contiguous boundaries, compact boundaries. It wouldn't follow it would go afoul of some of the other kind of rules that you go by in redistricting and trying to create another district. In my view, and working with the data that's available on there, and the way the Pulaski County has the population dispersed.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we have Metro Plan produce the map and show it, that's in the comments, and show us what it looks like, and let us look at it. It appears to me, just looking at it, it deals with some of the issues surrounding all these comments. I think by accident, it deals with District 3, because looking at that picture, it appears that the southern boundary's moved up a little bit and it's widened out to the west. And I'd just be interested to see how that map would lay out with its, what its changes would look like, and if it might be something we'd like to consider.
And if you did, you would probably want to open it up for public comment because nobody's viewed that map because it's different. I mean, everybody's been looking at these, so if you provide a new one, then you might want a public comment period on
So, may I comment before we?
Of course.
Okay.
it. I mean, I just
So,
looked at it. It's drastically different.
I can't see it.
this, you're looking at the one in color. I
Commissioner
printed out a
Scott,
black
you
and
are
white.
right on one of the maps, it did move the boundary District 3.
It moved boundaries everywhere.
Yeah, but what he was talking.
It's also split District 9 in half with 8. I don't know who had the data that was creating this. I mean, where did it come from?
It's public comment.
I know, but where
Did it say where the data
No, it's
came
an email, and that's attached, and it says, I would like the PCEC to consider creating an additional minority-majority JP district to comply with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. I would strongly ask you to consider the example I have attached here too, or some close variant of the attached possible JP map.
So this is asking us to start all over again.
It won't take me long to produce
That
numbers
just-
on that if you have established boundaries and I'm
We
able
do.
to read where the boundaries are. I haven't seen that map myself, but if they're, if I can see where they fall,
Yeah.
it won't take more than 30 minutes to run numbers on it.
And I can send that to you.
Can this person be contacted to get a better map or a
Sure.
better picture?
Okay.
I don't have a problem with creating their map, but if we do that, it has to be open to comment.
Of course, it's going to delay everything.
Okay, let me think about this. So because we're jumping ahead to next week, because we were going to think about all these comments, and then next week determine if we needed another map. So I guess we're ahead a week.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
But
So-
then we could go ahead and, to give ourselves some time, ask for if we want to make any changes on one or two of these.
And we're going to have to make some changes on.
So
at least
would you want to
one.
go and do that now so that we can have a week of comment
On the.
on the other? So if we make any changes that
like
way.
we chose number 4 and made some changes.
Right, so if we chose one to make some changes, then they too could comment on that one as well.
Well, so if
Yes.
if we bring this one in for consideration, then we should bring the one in that was sent by the judge to the quorum court. I mean, this is no different in my opinion. And we didn't consider that at all.
Well, the reason we didn't consider is because it didn't follow the criteria.
And you don't know whether this did either. I mean, I'm just saying it's,
That's fine, I'm fine with that.
That's
fine.
That's fine as
That's
well.
fine.
I mean, we can look at all of them. I don't
That's
have a
fine.
problem with looking at any map
That's
you want to
fine.
look at.
Yeah, we can, that's
can look at
that's
the map.
fair, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so that we can stay, I want to stay on schedule, but I want public to have comment on all of these things.
But what if, I mean, I think you guys need to see that map after Hans does it, prepares it, because what if it's one you don't even want to consider? Then you're wasting time. I mean, you really need to see the details of it. It's a whole new map. So you wouldn't want to just say, oh, well, let's put it out for public comment if you're not considering it.
exactly.
You need to
Exactly.
get together and go, do we want to consider this after we get the.
I think, well, no, because none of these maps, some of these maps we may not want to consider at all.
You know that these reach your criteria. You've planned these, you know that they meet the redistricting, and this one may too. But you want to, somebody just gave this to us, 5 people could have given us a new map. You want to see it after it's done and make sure it meets the population, make sure everything is right on it.
Oh, yeah.
You
for
see
the
what I'm
var-
saying?
for the
You don't want to give it out to
variances,
public comment if it doesn't meet your criteria.
Well,
'Cause I mean-
this person could have come at the beginning of our criteria creation and the plans that we made to ask MetroPlan to design maps, but rather than the day before we're here doing this.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense, Wanda.
Because it was submitted 11/28.
But they put it in within the comment period, so.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to make sure I'm understanding this. Someone submitted a public comment and they sent a map in too?
Mhm.
And that was done on 11/28?
The issue is that they're asking for more majority minority districts, and we currently do not have a high enough target of those because we did not take race in consideration because we were not supposed to.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, we cannot discriminate. It's a very tricky line to be on. So there's no issue considering a map. But if we're going to do that, then it has to fall within the variances. It cannot be outside the standard deviation for us to even consider it. But we have to open it for public comment.
Just sitting here listening, just absorbing, to know that someone did that at this late date, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but it sounds so political to me. And I don't do politics. I'm sorry, I'm Democrat, but I don't do politics. I do people. And, I mean, this is, that, I can't believe so. I mean, it's kind of late for all that.
It's kind of
That's pushing y'all back, in my opinion.
throwing a
I was
monkey
just
wrench into
thinking-
the whole process.
It's good.
It does, but if they wouldn't have brought up the whole VRA issue, I would have said no.
Whatever y'all do, I just say that y'all just do the right thing, be fair by all 15 justices. But that's, someone really thought that out. Go to that, put them in.
But
So are we gonna vote on my motion?
But for to consider that, I think it's only right to consider the other map that was asked to be considered,
Right, the one from the corner.
to be fair. As long as it falls in the variances. All those in favor of, restate your motion.
Just make a motion that we transmit that map over to Metro Plan so that Hans could draw us the map that he says he can draw pretty quickly.
And then it only be considered if it falls within the variances.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just gonna be for our consideration, that's all.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 No.
I agree with Melinda that it shouldn't be put up to even be considered if it does not fall within the standard deviations. Okay?
I agree.
I want to see with our timeline. So if we take some of these comments and make alterations to one of these maps and we give you this other one, how long do you think that would take?
Well, it depends on the alterations, because if you move, like, say, some other area is gonna have to change. It depends on how big the changes are. You know, I could make the changes, but then you're probably gonna need to have more public comment if the changes are great. Because if you're dealing with 4,000 people, that's gonna move boundaries pretty significantly elsewhere to accommodate that, because that's 20% of a JP.
Right.
basically.
And honestly, what I would like to do on that is, maintain the map, one of the maps, and then also have the changed map so that we're looking at both.
Right, anything that was done to be like alternative 4, it would be alternative 4A, so you knew the original map where it came from, and this was a variant of
Right.
that map.
So what do the comments say, Commissioner Inman, about 4, what could be done? What are some of the
The
suggestions?
majority of them were just asking that St. Charles and Wellington be united.
Standard going west.
And it looks like they also are talking about moving the south boundary of 3 north and trying to keep St. Charles and Wellington together to the west.
So moving the south,
So see, on the current ones, the south boundary on JP is Markham. And on the others, it brings it down farther south.
does
But it
everyone
just-
agree
it just
that
brings
4
in,
is the
like-
one we're kind of looking at?
I'm
Do
Four.
we all
four is
agree
the
that
one
4
we
is the
could
one we're looking at?
probably
Okay.
Just sort of focus on.
Okay, and so make sure we're all looking at the same one.
Yeah, that's what the comments are directed towards.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Let's
mean, this
see.
seems to fit all of the criteria that we're trying to achieve.
Right.
So there's one that says you can offset the change by moving the southern border for that district further north past Maryland.
think you need to look at moving it somewhere else. I mean,
Let's see
Maybe
here
change
if
it.
someone else has something different.
Commissioner Scott,
Ma'am,
do you know who the people or whoever it is that created this map and how they created it?
I don't.
You don't know this person?
What's the person's name?
I know.
Evelyn Gomez?
Oh yeah, we know
I
the
know
person.
the person, but I don't know how they created
No,
the
what's his
map.
name? Go ahead.
Evelyn Gomez, the former chair of this committee,
Oh, okay.
was the commenter. And I apologize, I didn't have time to look at these this afternoon.
This map's really kind of hard to read anyway. I mean, it's
Here's a color version.
hard, look at the coloring on it.
Do you
You
want to-
still can't tell any streets or boundaries.
I can't see it. Well, so I guess the question is trying to, I guess that the question for alternative 4 is to try to move Wellington in with St. Charles, keep it whole, and how you can accommodate that without
So
moving me back into one
the
would be
problem
great.
is when you do one, if it does split another one, and you get comments on that, is
Right, so I see what we can do.
Okay.
And so this one actually reconfigured the numbers. I mean, can we do that? Just change the whole region to a different number?
I think our criteria was to keep the baseline numbers, so.
I mean, this moved, I mean, literally, this is moving 12 from over there
No,
to over
our,
there.
our criteria says that we're
With
keeping the
existing.
numbers as the baseline.
Right.
Okay.
So, they
So that would-
so you'd have to ignore the numbers.
I can fit the numbers probably pretty close.
Our
I haven't seen it
criteria,
though, so I don't.
our criteria states that we're keeping the numbers as the the JP district as the baseline, so we have to follow that criteria.
I mean, this is really, changing it all.
I'm just curious how many minority districts it's creating.
Can I have an extra copy of that? I'd like to look at that. Yeah.
With the map, I didn't make any extra. I was gonna run through the other comments that I thought you might,
Yes,
point out. I can, do you want me to get that after?
could
or-
you just after?
I thought maybe it might be quicker to, I mean, because we had 18 of alternative 4. If Hans looks at Wellington and St. Charles, and I gave him a copy that has the comments, so he can kind of see what people are saying.
That'd be good.
But there was, after that, after the alternative 4, there's somebody that said about comment period extension. I think it'd be better to extend the comment period and wait for the Board of Apportionment to finish the decided boundaries.
Then
there-
we need to overlay with 4, I would assume you're gonna go ahead and overlay the new boundaries to see if it made a change.
Can we just select 4 with changes that we consider? And
Can we go ahead and make a motion to select 4 with changes? As the one to send for changes, I mean. On top of the
That-
other
that we
2
are.
maps, on the top of the other 2 maps.
Sure.
Okay. That's what I
to
make,
make it easier for him to,
so we know what we're working with.
you won't have to work through all of them.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's- I did. I'll state it for you. I make a motion that we direct Hans to create an alternative to map number 4 and incorporate into that the comments that we're giving to him that we've received regarding current alternative map 4.
Including the changes that were made to the Board of Apportionment on Monday.
Yeah, and taking into account all the comments, including that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Okay, go ahead, Linda, sorry.
And then there's 2 redistricting comments on JP3 that talk about a valuable community group. That one of them says the majority of homeschoolers are in this zip code, and they want you to re-examine and the maps and redraw lines. And the other one says that, you know, the children go to schools and activities and church together. So those 2 were kind of close in what they do not offer a suggestion. And I'm not sure how you could pull where the kids
And
go
that-
to school and that kind of homeschool and stuff.
They're not telling you enough to go on anything, in my opinion, about where are the children homeschooled and all those things.
It just says that JP3.
Yeah.
So, the other one that, and really, there's one that has St. Charles, and it talks about the 2 communities together. It just doesn't say alternative 4. It just says the same thing. And then there's one other, and it is a request for changes to JP 15 and 12 districts. And it was submitted by Justice McCoy. And it says, I have a request for you to consider which might make a change to these districts. I hope this brief explanation is sufficient. I'll let you be the judge. Please let me see the result of your decision. It says there is a portion of a neighborhood near my most southwestern portion that is not in my district. However, that same portion of a neighboring district is only accessible through my district and not accessible via District 15. This neighborhood is known as Chimney Rock, a gated neighborhood. Does it make sense for this entire neighborhood to be in one other district entirely and not split as it currently has been? And is it destined to be if any of the current alternative maps is adopted?
Can you look at that when you're looking at 4?
Yes, I know where that is.
Okay.
That line did not change between 15 and 12. It's consistent across all the maps, so. I'll look at that, how the it's talking about road access to it, the way the comment is written, so.
Yeah, because I think
I think
14's
both of
at,
those are high.
yeah, 14's at 99.5% and 15's at
I thought it was 12 and
102.51%.
15. Was it 12 and 15?
Oh, is it 12 and 15?
12
or-
and 15.
I'm sorry, 12's at 102.3%. They're both at 102 point.
So
Something
depending on how
percent.
many people in that neighborhood, it probably could move. If there's a good boundary to move it, though, that's the other thing.
Right.
It's a cul-de-sac street and it kind of stretches out and creates, I can look at it, though. I know.
Okay, we could just look at it to see.
And that's the main, you know, it was either the alternatives that we just went over 1 and 2, and then the other is, you know, stuff that's irrelevant or that is from our plague or, you know.
Right, that
It
doesn't
isn't
make
your,
sense.
your authority.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
So, depending on when we get that information back, I would ask that I can make a decision to open the comment period as soon as we find out, and then just let Melinda let y'all know and say, hey, let's go and open this up, and then
Are we
have-
gonna look at it, or?
That's why I'm like, if it's meets the variances, we don't need to.
But the comments will have to begin again.
Right, so that's why I was like, as soon as we know that it meets or does not meet, then we can say, if it meets the variances, then it's fine. If it doesn't, it doesn't. As soon as we have that information that's ready, then I would like to, if you don't mind, just go ahead and say, hey, let's go ahead and open the comments, and I'll have her to contact both of you and say, we can open the comments because it's ready. If it's not, then we don't. And then
Are we talking about 3 maps, or are we talking about just this one?
the 4 and the JP alternative judges map or whatever, and then the other one if it meets the variances. So that would be 3. And hopefully that'll be quick, and I mean, we wouldn't need to even have the 8th meeting next week.
Would you open the public comment up to just those three? Or,
Just those three.
and pull the others down?
Pull the others down, right?
Just want to
I'm
clarify
good
that.
with that.
Right, except for the current one, of course. And, well, I say those three, I think we need to keep, it actually be four, because we want to keep the current four and then the new four, right?
Yes.
Right, okay.
And, you know, I'll just letter it like A, since you know that's what that's.
If it's horrible,
And this one here will be called 5, and
four, okay, yeah.
the original judge's map will be 6. So,
So we can cancel the next Wednesday's meeting, because it won't be necessary. And then they'll give more people time to comment.
Or unless
How
the
long
school
would you
district thing.
extend the comment period? Did
I
you
mean,
say?
does it even matter? We're already out of compliance right now. We could do that on the 15th. I'm sorry.
And how long will you extend the comment period?
It just depends on when the maps come back. I don't want it running. We're going to want to have time for, because you'll just have to send those to us so that we can look at it and then post those online. But we don't need to have those more than, we need at least 3 days prior to the 15th, don't you think? To be able to look those over, at least 3 days.
So you want the public comments 3 days? Because it takes a couple days. I mean, this took a lot of time.
So that meeting's on Wednesday, maybe by that Friday.
By that Friday. So when would you close the comment?
Midnight Friday,
Friday, what?
Will
day?
you?
whatever that Friday
Because
is.
that Friday
The
before
10th?
the meeting, we would have to get this together like what I did on here. And this took several hours. So, I mean, you couldn't, I guess I could do it in a weekend. I mean, I'm not,
We don't meet until Wednesday.
We're still meeting on the 15th.
You could get it to us on
Right.
Monday, Monday morning.
right, they wanted to see it Friday. I would have to get
No, we don't-
this took like a
No.
day and a half.
No.
I would need to.
We don't need it till Monday morning.
You don't want to see it till Monday morning?
Monday morning.
So I do it on the weekend because the comment period would close.
So, this is Monday.
Or noon Monday, how about that? That
That-
gives us plenty of time.
This took like a day and a half to do.
Monday
It was
the
very
Is
tedious.
this Monday the 13th you're talking about?
Because I didn't just send you
Before
the emails.
15th meeting, okay. Or should we meet?
I don't think it'll take that long because you don't have the libraries.
Well, it depends on how many comments.
I don't think.
This was just 31 and I could have just printed the emails and just gave them to you.
Just give us the
but
emails.
Just
I just tried
Just
to
give
do
us the
that.
emails.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Just give us the emails.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just give us each a set.
Don't make it hard for yourself.
Yeah.
And I
Just
won't get to
Just-
make that meeting.
I know.
Just print them out, put them in a PDF to us, and just scan them all.
That's what I did with
Yeah.
all these.
Yeah.
I mean, you can cut, copy and paste and put it in an email.
I just did this
Yeah,
so
me too.
because I think it helped, because I think you would have been here several more hours tonight.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do this on our own time, and then we'll come back and hopefully be able to make a decision.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Just make your setup, make it easy on yourself.
yeah, yeah,
Thanks, Laura, too.
yeah. Amanda can hang.
So are we meeting on the 13th? Is that what we're gonna do?
Our meeting's on the 15th,
I know, but we're just gonna get the information on the
Right.
13th. Okay.
and meet on the 15th.
So public comment will close on the 13th, isn't it? Or that's when you want to discuss?
I guess it worries me more because before you were gonna be ready to make a decision on the 15th and I wasn't gonna be here. So it just concerns me because we're going this whole period and then all of a sudden you're gonna have it all. you
We're
know,
gonna make a
and I won't be
decision,
here,
we're
so.
gonna make a decision on the 15th. Well, I really hate to say we're gonna do public comment by that Friday because I don't know when we get the maps. Like, I really hate to say that.
One is done and then there's we'll just see when.
I'll need to pull the number.
I mean, I really hate to say, let's do it. I kind of would like to make a judgment call there, depending on when we get them. So it could be Friday or it could be Sunday night at midnight. So could we depending on when we
Let's
get the
just say
maps?
Friday, and then if it's needs to be extended, then change it.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Then let it be
What do you think?
Friday.
If
Commissioner
that's a good
Scott.
copy of the map,
I
I
think it
can
works.
produce that, and I can have copies available tomorrow afternoon.
That-
Okay, we'll do it Friday at
If
midnight.
it's a good map, that's what I'm, I can tell. from
That's the
graphic.
concern, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I have some questions on it, that may be a holdup.
Okay, yeah, let's
But
do
the other two,
that.
I can make the changes in 4, make a 4A, and I can reduce the original judge's map and have 2 of the maps available for sure.
So that's Friday the 10th
Yeah, the 10th.
at midnight. And if something happens and we need to extend it a couple of days, then we will to the 12th. But, so that's a,
Comment on everybody, the 10th.
at midnight. It'll be good. So we don't need to meet on the 8th.
So,
We'll approve the school board map on the 15th.
and then I'll check out Pulaski County, or I keep wanting to say that, Jacksonville, North Pulaski. Because if you're not meeting on the 8th, then we might do it. And I'll see what the,
We'll do the 15th.
what will happen, and ask them to come to that meeting on the 15th, to the redistricting.
Yeah, I mean, they should be happy we gave them an extra week. Because the 8th is no different than the 15th when you miss the deadline on the 1st. So does everyone understand what just happened?
Yes. Kind of.
Okay, so we're taking alternative 4 and taking the comments, handing them over to Hans, and he's going to incorporate those comments. We're maintaining 4 and then having an additional map so that we have both. We had a comment from someone from the previous chair about increasing the majority minority districts. Am I saying that correctly? The majority minority districts. So we're going to let him create that map. If it meets the variances, we'll allow that to go in front of public comment too. If it doesn't, then it won't. Because we're doing that, we're also going to allow the previous map that the judge created also go to public comment that we originally were not going to. That was a resolution. To be fair, since we're allowing this other map in, that's the right thing to do. So basically what we're going to be doing is open up public comment again, because if we're going to have new maps, we need to have public comment on those maps. So I don't know exactly when that would start, because we don't know exactly when the maps will be ready, but as soon as it is, we'll make sure we're communicating that out through all the different platforms. And so we'll basically have 4 maps, tentatively, unless one doesn't meet the criteria. We'll have 4 still out there. We'll have a new one called 5 that will be 4 amended with new information on it. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
It would be 4A.
4A, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Four will
4A.
go away, right?
No, we're
4
going
will
to keep 4.
stay, and it'll be 4A. 5 will be this one.
4, 4A, 5, and then
6.
the other one will be called 6. Okay. And we'll post those, and then we will be back here on the 15th, and that's when we vote on the maps. Okay. So, clear as mud. Does anyone have any questions? Is there any comments?
No.
Okay. Thank y'all. I'm glad we got through that. Appreciate everyone. And thank you, Melinda, for everything.